And everybody knows hello and welcome to another Kind Kids Live where that Kimberly, me, gets to talk with a bunch of cool kids, making kindness cool again, I should say, as we stay in our lane and we chat and share knowledge that we have all learned from our own experiences. And so thank you guys for joining me. I'm excited to be back. I've been out for 2 weeks and just excited to get back into the groove of all this. So I'm that Kimberly. And before I introduce my two guests that you see here today, Kristin and Brian, wave. I'm going to give you guys a heads up as far as what we're going to be talking about. And that is we're going to be picking from our cards in the categories. And then I'm going to ask them spontaneous questions, which then they get to answer in it, from their own experience and their opinion. We are going live on that Kimberly's Business Facebook page. I'm sharing it to my own personal page, my LinkedIn, as well as YouTube. Wherever you're watching, I want to make sure that you all can find us. And yeah. So we will be here every Friday around the same time. And if anyone wants to join us today, please leave a comment, a question for today. We want those so we can definitely get them answered. And if you don't catch us right at the 12:15 lunch hour, you can always watch the replay. So before we jump into this, I'm going to have our guests, Kristin and Brian, briefly introduce themselves, where they're watching from and what they're up to, and then we'll jump on in. So, Kristin, you go first.
Okay, I am Kristin. Some people might know me as Kristin being Kristin on Instagram. I've had an IG Live for the past 3 months during quarantine. I am technically a mother, wife, and a bartender and a comedian. So yes, I just like to share funny stories and make people lighten up and laugh.
Awesome. Brian?
Hi, I'm Brian Crawford. I am currently in Missouri City, Texas, just out of the southwest side of Houston.
H-Town.
H-Town Live. I am originally, though, from Illinois. I've worked at the University of Houston. That's what brought me down here. I am now working with Kimberly on a wonderful foundation for some amazing people, the Caregiver. We'll talk about that at some later time or some later date, but I just wanted to say that I really believe in the right bourbon as well. So since you're the expert, Kristin, on funny and bourbon, we may cover that too today.
Oh, definitely.
Very popular for sure. Yes.
Yeah. I always get those two mixed up, and I used to be a bartender. So bourbons mess me up. I can't keep up with them, but that might be one of our topics. So if you, we're going to jump into this. So unless you want to go with Brian's original green color, who wants to pick?
Wait, I want to talk about bourbon.
Okay. Well,
or whiskey. Because I don't understand exactly the difference between a bourbon and a whiskey, but I like them.
Yes. Well, then that can be a part of, we're going to talk about, then that will be included in the wellness topic.
Okay, good.
How alcohol, we are right now, is helping our wellness, right? Let's be real, right? From my craft beer to tequila, sipping it like wine, I too I understand tequila, but I don't understand bourbon. So we'll go ahead and let Kristin, I will ask this question. What is the difference? What is your favorite beverage or bourbon? And then you can answer Brian's question about how do you tell the difference?
So this is the tricky thing. I don't drink alcohol. I just serve it.
What?
I know that throws everybody off.
That's awesome. No,
it's a great opener when I'm bartending because everyone's always like, "What's your favorite?" And I'm like, "I just sell it," and then I help people find what they actually like.
Yeah.
I know there's a trick to the bourbon whiskey. I'm not the best with the whole what divides and what I think it's where they're brewed and how it's processed. So there's a definite difference between Scotch because Scotch whiskey comes from Scotland. Regular whiskey this way, and I think bourbon there's a concept of I forget the actual rules because I'm always the people person. I'm not really the history of all the booze, but I will say that bourbon is a little bit sweeter, and a lot of people do like it to sip on it, and is super popular right now. I would say rye whiskey and bourbon are the two most popular at the moment.
Wow.
And my bar has a huge bourbon collection. So that's what a lot of people come in. We make a lot of Manhattans, old fashions, and we have the big cubes. So a lot of people like to come in and just drink it with like a splash of bitters and like an orange twist. So so I think that you can really have some fun with different bourbons.
I have the big cubes at home.
Yes, not right now because it is lunchtime.
Well, no, okay, fine. What like I like Woodford Reserve.
That's a good one.
Buffalo Trace.
Yep, it's another very
Maker's
popular
Mark,
one.
but Bullet Rye is something I'll usually make an old fashioned with, or any of those. Do you have another suggestion?
I would say Eagle Rare is another one that's pretty good. A lot of people don't realize it, but it's a good one. It's fairly priced.
I didn't know Maker's Mark was
Haven or Booker's. Those are pretty popular too.
Ooh, Booker's,
Look, he's taking down those.
Yeah.
I didn't realize Maker's Mark was so popular, and was definitely not considered in some areas it's a premium, right? Or most of the time it's a premium. I haven't.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny too, because like I don't even think we have Maker's Mark anymore. And Maker's Mark was something that everybody asked for. Like I've been bartending since the 90s. Maker's Mark was one that you got all the time. And now it's more like a lot of people, certain brands have gotten more popular over the years. A lot of people are doing fun things with bourbons and whiskeys now too, like they're infusing them. I think there's a new one that just came out with actually peanuts. I think it's called Screwball. So
I just had a peanut butter one over the weekend.
Yeah, so that's probably Screwball. Yeah, so that's really interesting.
Is Crown in that bourbon realm because they now have a peach Crown?
Crown is like I think that's considered more of a whiskey. And now they're having flavors of it. So they have like the apple one. Like a lot of people started like Jack Daniels started doing the honey whiskey and the cinnamon whiskey, so that got really popular for a while. And then they kind of started adding different things. So everyone's infusing things now too, and they're trying to like remarket their stuff because flavors have become really popular. So now like all the older brands are kind of trying to change with the times too. So it's interesting. There's so much stuff out there now.
Well, Blaze says, my understanding is bourbon and whiskey are more a regional thing.
Right. It's a regional thing. I know. I don't know. I can't remember the exact definition of what the difference. Same thing with like, tequila and mezcal and like the agave.
Well,
so I mean, I've taken the classes, but it's just like it's not what I have to talk to. But I have a guy in my bar that's more does that, and I do the people.
Yeah,
he does the history of this boy.
Yeah, well, and that's awesome that thank you, Blaze, for asking that question or making that statement. But it's awesome that you can honestly say that this is what I'm good at. And this other part, I have no idea because I've never tasted a drop of alcohol, or I'm not drinking or whatever the point is. Like I remember when I used to bartend and when I started bartending in college to pay my college tuition, I definitely learned as I went and would have a sip, but I wasn't a big drinker then. Right. I think because I started drinking at 15 and being from El Paso, Texas, Juarez back then was the place to go. But when you're a bartender, I've tried to be even more responsible because you are managing people, as well as your till and, being in sales, like Brian and I both know, it's a salesmanship, if you will, position, bartending. But having the knowledge and knowing that you have those resources to pull in, Kristin, is awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Kimberly, Blaze finally answered.
Oh, Kentucky is B. Bourbon.
Yes. I knew it was something like that. I just didn't want to say it and have the wrong thing. I knew it was like a specific region, but I just didn't have the right answer.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense, though.
I was like, what? Bartending 25 years and she doesn't know it's a bourbon?
Well, it is what it is. So let's move to our next topic. That since Brian picked the first one, I'm gonna pick the next one, marketing.
Ooh.
Because Brian and Kristin, you can tell. I'm going to ask this question first, and you guys can raise your hand, say who wants to answer it. Let me think as I can relate it to. Okay. Pick a sport or alcohol drink, a beverage that you've made, either one of you, that is closest to your brand as a person.
Ooh,
like it.
Pick a sport.
A sport or a drink that is closest to your brand, your own personal branding. Like, like, so who wants to go first?
Oh God. I guess I can go first. I'm trying to think of what I would want to call it. Let's see. I'm trying to think if there's a drink that I already have I'm trying to think of some of the drinks on my menu.
Yeah.
My bar that
or it could be a sport too. It doesn't have to necessarily, that's why I picked either or.
If I were saying a sport, I'd probably say football kind of represents me a little bit because of the way that they play the offense and the defense. So I think the way that I approach life, I have a very good vision of my offense. But being a bartender, I have to also be able to adapt and have a defense to be able to handle when the things are coming at me.
Yeah.
So that would be sport. And then there's kind of a drink on my menu called the Wild Night Out. It's tequila, pomegranate, soda water, and lime.
Wow, I like that.
My personality is fun and sassy when I'm bartending. So that would probably be how I'd represent myself there, because I'm the one that kind of makes it like a wild night. Not in a bad way, but in a fun way.
I love that. And I'm going to have to ask for that recipe one more time. Tequila, pomegranate
liqueur, a little bit of lime and soda water. So it's kind of a refreshing tequila drink for the summertime.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. Brian, that gave you some time.
So I was initially going to go with golf because that's the only sport that I've played recently, but that's not that. I don't think that kind of aligns with my brand. So I'm stuck on one, and I can't find a better one as I'm going through the Rolodex right now. But cornhole or bags, and it's, to me, that's because I like having a conversation with anybody. I think it doesn't have to be too serious. If you want it to be serious, it can be serious.
I agree.
But you can have a lot of fun doing it. It's a little competitive. We can have a really good conversation. We can have an argument. We can have whatever. But and I was thinking old fashioned too, but just a Bud Light or Michelob Ultra is good for me. I'm good to have whatever conversation with anybody. This is a great venue for me, I think, because we're just going to talk about anything and everything. Yeah. And I can go along with whatever. So
yeah, but Kristin only has a 45-minute window for us, so we can't keep her all day.
I like that answer though, Brian. So I think I'd like to go play cornhole with you too, because I'm the same way. I love conversation, and I like simple, just keep it easy. So I love that. That was a good.
Doesn't take a huge skill set. No, you just throw some stuff up there and see what sticks.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I love that.
I agree. I would have to say, Brian, knowing and being one of my ex part-time boss men, I would say that old fashioned does fit you because you are definitely sophisticated. You're a old soul. What is it? You're wise. You're right. And I'm telling him, and he's not paying me anything anymore. We're now legitimately, there's that we are volunteer colleagues, friends. I don't work for him anymore or do contract work, but I can see an old fashioned fitting you, because he is wise. He's an old soul. Kristin, you and I are both way older than Brian. Yeah. With you having your children and me having my mother, it was like having a child, taken care of again. But Brian, yes, old fashioned. I'm going to say, I like that as a part of your brand moving forward. Just
and I like a good whiskey, bourbon, or rye in there. So it fits.
Yeah, definitely. Yes. And Blaze says, sorry, I've been drinking, because that was his last comment that I wanted to acknowledge. But thank you, Blaze, for putting that out there. We know you're joking. Anywho,
Blaze will probably be on our cornhole team.
Yes, he's supposed to be on Kind Kids Live soon. I've already asked him and his wife. That will be a whole other. Maybe Brian, you can drag him on. Persuade him. So that finishes out that topic. Now the last one is technology. So what new technology or platforms have you all started using in this COVID time, or just just 2020. We'll take the COVID side out of it. In 2020, what new platforms of technology have you discovered and that you enjoy? Who wants to go first? Raise your hand.
I'll go first.
Okay.
I'll let Brian think. I got the cup. I'll let Brian think. For me, technology is something that I'm actually trying to learn a lot more of because I've been thrown into it and I realized that the way you can connect with it. So for me, I've learned IG Live very much. I use it during quarantine to have a nightly talk show.
Yeah.
And that has been amazing. I would say also I'm trying to adapt and learn LinkedIn because I haven't really figured that one out yet. So I'm basically kind of in that learning phase of learning it all. I feel like there's a different language for each one. So like I'm trying to like get my bearings in one and then kind of start branching off. And I've also been tweaking with like TikTok a little bit.
Awesome.
So and I'm like, I just want to try to figure out how to use it the way I want to use it. Not the way, you know what I mean? Like, I think that's
that is the great thing about TikTok and because it's so diverse and you can do whatever you want on there. And of course, the people that are doing the things that are, because I've seen a woman that is giving like financial advice on there. I've seen a young man who's showing caregiving to his dad on there.
Exactly.
And you put each of them do what they do best. And then sometimes they add music and sometimes they don't. So Gary Vee says, just make it about, like, he's given business advice on a couple of his lives this past couple months about TikTok. Yeah. And so I definitely refer back to his advice to those business owners that are figuring, like you, trying to figure out how to make that. Yeah, absolutely. Exactly. 100%. And LinkedIn, that's just, open territory. I love that. And LinkedIn does a great job of educating, their end user as well as there are a lot of other LinkedIn, quote unquote, professionals that they can give that advice. So that's awesome. Good for you. I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
Brian, you next.
So I was thinking, like, I haven't tried a whole lot of new stuff, and I'm not one of those people that runs out to the Apple store and has to be in line, or runs out to Best Buy when something gets released, because I don't want to put the effort into that and put the money down to go find out whether the product is a flop. And have to go, well, this didn't work or this did work, and I can talk to you about it.
Then what do you
Kimberly,
do?
You're willing to try that stuff out and then tell me how I can practically use it in a way that I can understand. So I don't even have to go to the Best Buy store and stand in line.
Yeah,
I can rely on you to do that. But for this, so what we're using right now, the StreamYard platform, I've never, until we started doing some of the podcasting and the lives for the Do As We Do Foundation, I'd never seen or heard about this, but something that it does is links all your other social elements together, so you're going live and meeting people where they are, which to me, that's like the practical usage of the technology platform. Is you may be talking, each one of us may have a different preference on where we want to receive our content.
Absolutely.
Right.
So this technology allows your content to meet that person, your customer, whoever the person, your audience, where they are. Yep. Be it Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, YouTube, whatever their personal preferences. And that way you don't have to go from bounce to one to the other, whether duplicate all of that work. Yeah. It's just done all at once.
Yeah.
So this was a really cool experience getting to learn, and it's not too difficult. No. Partly it's because you're in control.
No, well, I give control to some of the other volunteers as well, Kristin. Don't give me a bad rap, Brian. But it is something that testing and playing around with, even on the the guest facing side, figuring out where the live chat is, seeing where comments come in. This was the third software that I had practiced with, because I wanted to not just do a Zoom, but because that's how I was first recording my podcasts, and anybody that would do video, be allowed to be on video, would be okay with me doing video with them, for the podcast. But doing a live is if you will, the first tier of content that then can be stripped down into pieces and then distributed differently. So that's my big thing that, I started with, Zoom almost 2.5 years ago, and then finding this live software, and there's tons of live software. I think StreamYard is definitely the one that we're going to stick with for a while, because you don't have to plug in anything else, and they make it simple for non-technology people. I mean, sometimes that's me, right? Like, I had to teach myself. You taught yourself IG. You were the one who told me what IG was doing differently from when we did our live on your IG. How many months ago? Like 3. Yeah. And it's constantly changing. So yeah. So Brian, good for you for being open to even practicing with this. But
think about this, like in terms of how far we've come.
Very far.
Like even 10 years ago, this wasn't a thing. If you had a voice, you had to get on to some sort of news outlet or television station, radio station. Totally. This wasn't happening, but now us three slappies are having a conversation about whatever we really want to. And if you have enough value to bring to the table, if you know that your message or your voice or your content can help somebody, help somebody do something, or educate them on something that they're trying to get accomplished, you have the opportunity and the platform to make that a thing. And all you got to do, and I was telling Kimberly earlier this morning.
Can I get an amen? Yes, sir.
Yes.
Bingo.
Love it.
So all you got to do is be a step ahead of somebody else that's trying to do something similar to you. And you're now their best friend, because they're trying to figure it out in their life.
Yep.
And just to listen to your story that they just walked through. This technology allows us to be able to help other people, or anybody. Not just us.
Absolutely.
100%.
Anybody
that's
that
how we connected. That's me and Kimberly connected.
Absolutely.
She reached out to me, and she had a lot of things that she knew, and I was like, oh, you're like my best friend. I was writing everything down, taking everything, learning from her, and I've been adapting, and we keep in touch. So it's fun.
Yeah. It definitely, the social media is, and because things can be recorded, and because we are, we have you to go learn anything that you want and to know, you can learn on YouTube, or, the Google, as my, friend's mother likes to say, the Googler. But it's true. And a lot of people don't, and I know there are people who don't have time for it. So when somebody asks me the question, if I know the answer I say, yes, this is my experience. This is what has happened to me. Because I got this information from someone else for free on YouTube. A lot of it, Gary Vee and others that put out their information for free, right? To tell you how to get something done. And I am excited that we are shifting more into that direction, where the sharing is caring motto, speaking our truth of our own experiences and sharing that with others is really where we're 2020 is taking us. And I'm excited about that. Right. For sure. Yeah. Because we would be, look at you, like being a bartender for, all the many years that you've been a bartender, and then look at, you got into 2020 and you barely got, I don't think you had an Instagram before.
I use it for a little, for the past year, trying to find a way to spread a voice, and then quarantine happened, and it just totally changed. And now it's like connecting with so many people and inspiring and passing it forward and letting it ripple out. Yeah. So it's been fantastic.
Yeah.
And look at so you're kind of, and I think on your profile, it was like, I'm a comedic storyteller. And so you already have that story to tell, or a set or series of stories.
Yeah.
That's, it's going to be useful for somebody, but your Instagram or any level of social media or this channel has allowed you to be able to come through and really simply, easily tell that story to as many people that want to receive it.
Yeah.
And then share it. Or if they know somebody that can get some sort of use out of that content, that story, that's what this has allowed us to do really quickly and easily.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. Absolutely. It's helped, the nonprofit that Brian and I volunteer for to do is We Do Foundation, reach more caregivers. And because we are able to stream to LinkedIn and to Facebook and YouTube, and I don't have a Tumblr, but this software goes there as well. And a couple of other places that I haven't even dug into, like, what is this icon here that I see? Yeah, there are. But it's just the age we're in, like technology, social media is leveling the playing field for everybody and every business.
Yeah, I totally agree with that, because it gives it gives anybody who wants to do it an opportunity to at least try, and then it can build from there.
Absolutely, 100%. That's why when you guys, it's ironic that we talk about the softwares and technology, and when I share my information or I put files out or whatever I put out in social media, people, when I explain to them about hashtags and just putting a hashtag like that Kimberly, Google hashtag that Kimberly, and see what you find is one of the biggest reasons why I'm like, do social media, brand yourself, like use hashtags, name the files because organically that helps you as a person in your brand, and also as a business, it would help businesses. So I know that the ship is turning, and we're all, the playing field is leveling up, and it's exciting for sure. 100%. Do you guys have any other topic that we'd like us to? We're on our 26 minutes in, and I do thank Blaze for and a few others that popped on and off before I got to say, hey, what's up? Blaze says, sign me up for cornhole, and I guess that means he doesn't want to be on Kind Kids. I'm confused. That's okay. We'll get to him later.
I got a question. Something that we talked about with Kristin before the show started. And it was, in kind of looking into building up your personal brand and some of the interests that you were talking about is really starting to have some interesting conversations with people that are ready or willing to tell their story.
Right.
And I found that I love that. It's kind of what we talk about, a little Joe Rogan-esque, but I think
until you told me MMA, I only associated. I'm serious with. I forgot that he had all these other things going on.
Yeah, and Fear Factor.
Yes. That's when I remember him. The biggest was Fear Factor, right? But he turned MMA around, right? There's a whole story behind that. Now he's got a podcast. He's a comedian. Like, you name it. I
want to say he just signed up with Spotify for like $100 million or something crazy.
We'll have to go Google that.
Yeah, put it in the Googleizer. But anyway, I wanted to hear what you have in line for what you're thinking about, what you want to do.
So originally when I started my IG Live, it just kind of came on out of nowhere. I was on Tea with Gary Vee, and he kind of challenged me to do it, and I just jumped in.
He sure did.
What I was going to do. I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do, but he said do it, so I did it. And the first 2 nights I just talked just to the camera. And then I was like, okay, I'm going to come on 5 nights a week. What am I going to do for 5 nights? So I started using it almost like at a bar, you have like a different theme every night. Like one night might be trivia, or another night might be a music night. So I kind of made a theme for every night of my show. So I started finding interesting people that were on Instagram or social media that I thought would make an interesting conversation or bring value to people. So Monday night would be like mindset. It would be Move Your Ass Monday. It might be mind, motivation, somebody that overcame a goal. Tuesday, I would kind of focus on a music theme. Wednesday, I was kind of doing Wacky Wednesday, creative people like comedians, artists, people that you don't really see that are probably creating amazing things, but you might not know their name. So that's what I was using it for. But going forward, I would kind of like to have longer conversations with maybe some of the previous guests I had, or people that I find inspiring. But I think everyday people are doing great things.
Did you reach out to them in their DMs?
Yeah,
majority of them
was through DMs. Okay. And people like, Kristin, where do you find these people? And I would just kind of scroll through Instagram in the morning. I would kind of put different things, or maybe people that were already following me, and like, hey, what do you do with that? Like you told me what you do, and I was like, oh, why don't you come on my Forget About It Friday?
Yeah.
And then so I just kind of found people that way, and I really couldn't believe how many people were like, Kristin, that was a really great show. That really taught me something, or I really like that person's story. So I was like, see, I think there is more of a need for this, because most podcasts go for the bigger name because it's going to get you more clicks. And that's great. And there's nothing wrong with that. But the thing is it doesn't seem as attainable to the everyday person.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of like, if you can focus on someone who's at the beginning stages, but still really excited about it, or made something happen and they did it themselves, I think that kind of makes more people go forward. And I also like to take people from different experiences and walks of life, because I think that's how we learn. I learned a lot. I don't know, as a kid, I'm 49. So I would watch like Oprah and Phil Donahue and all the different late night talk shows, and people had authentic, real conversations.
Yeah.
And now it seems like a lot of talk shows or morning or late night, it's a lot of more like, it's all prefabricated what they're going to talk about. You can almost feel like it's there just to promote the product. You know what I mean? Like their project. And it's just not as entertaining that I like to do. So I want to kind of bring real conversation back.
Yeah. And that's why I have a limited outline when I ask people to be on. Yeah. But there are many that it's 50-50 split. They're okay with me just, shooting from the hip and asking a question. There are others that are not. Yeah. So I put together, just 4 or 5, bullet like sections so that they know, so you all know what the flow is. Luckily I've, already been live with you, and I'm good spontaneous wise because you're good at leading. Brian, you and I have been doing this for a while, with the Do As We Do. So it definitely makes it easier, but I do know that having some structure for some people is great, for them to keep them comfortable. Right. For me, too much structure makes me, it throws me off. It really does. Same. But I still need it because of, I can have too many. I have on the back of this card, it says shiny penny, that I have to reel myself or someone else in. Yeah. But it is, you did what Gary Vee challenged you to do, and you did it for almost 2 months, right? You were every week.
Almost 3. It was like I was gonna be like for 2 weeks. I thought like I was gonna be home for like 30 days. I wound up being home for like 3 months. And and I have to. So I'm gonna give you a big shout out, and then I'm gonna kind of shame Brian. I am going to kind of shame Brian into doing more LinkedIn for what he's up to, because I know that his Instagram is a personal account, and but he's got so much knowledge up here in his noodle that I've been telling him he needs to be putting more on LinkedIn, because that's the other place that you can definitely. Or even TikTok, because there's a lot of people that I follow on TikTok that I've learned so many tricks from. Like I didn't know people were giving tech advice there.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And then I was like, oh, like that's what started making my head like, okay, Kristin, you can start using this platform completely different. At first, when Gary said go on there, I was like doing stupid dance. I'm like, this isn't what I mean. I like to dance once in a while, but like, how do I make this be me?
Absolutely.
And then I started finding out, so I'm like, oh, here, do you know that you can use this website for this, or you can use it? And I was like, great. So if Brian has some of that information, he just make, did you know, blah blah blah, done.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're not doing the renegade, Brian.
No, correct.
I don't always practice what I
I have to say that it's just about your personal brand, Brian. Like you have so much knowledge and in that and experience for a wide level, from the university, from the collegiate aspect, working for the University of Houston, to working for a company that was purchased by Lowe's, and everything in between, and you building that marketing department. I'm just going to give you some props at the same time. Building things from scratch is almost the same in business as it is on your personal brand side. You have to start wherever, if it's multiple platforms, so people know it's just, so you're meeting them where they're at. But if LinkedIn, because of the way it is still an open playing field, the more content you put on LinkedIn, the easier and better and quicker you'll be found. And there's so many tools now to use LinkedIn, right? To put video content, like you can share TikTok straight to LinkedIn. That's what I love about TikTok, is you can do a video within TikTok. Their tool is so simple that a 13-year-old can put together a video. Then that means this 47-year-old should be able to do an edited quick, TikTok, or try to anyways. Right. So,
and that information is so helpful to so many, like, that's what people don't realize. Everyone's got so much stuff up in here.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the things I realized when I was doing the show. I'd ask people to come on. They go, well, I don't know what I have to talk about. Like, what's interesting about me? And they would come on and people like, oh my God, this person did this. And I was like, see, you don't even realize how much how much value you have inside yourself.
Yeah.
I think people because they look at everybody else. Like, one of my friends I convinced to get on doing a cooking thing. And she's like, well, everybody's already doing gluten-free, but now she's doing it. She's doing really good and it's fun for her.
Yeah.
And I'm like, just because everybody's doing it doesn't mean that you still can't.
Correct.
You know, I mean, there's a lot of people saying, go get it, but I'm going to still do it.
Yeah. Well, but that's what Gary Vee's point is. And, you know, something that Brian, you know, and I both are putting into place now for Do As We Do is bringing value to the end user, whoever that is. If we're thinking along that way of thinking, it's always valuable. It's not about us. It's not about, you know, there are other people that don't like your friend says that they're, you know, cooking, everybody's there, but maybe your personality, that person's good for you for championing her to say, no, let's just do this, because that's what it takes, is for someone to push that person if they're open to even just getting out there and starting it. Like Gary Vee pushed you, and then you paid it forward by doing all the things that you did, right? I went to go see him speak in 2017, and he said, do a podcast. That's the way you need to be. And he talked about Anchor, even though he says, I'm not an investor in it. And then I started telling people about that, right? That's how I got a contract with Brian's old company. It's just, you know, it is getting the information out there and practicing so that you can share that knowledge with other people. So good for both of you. I'm hopefully by the next time Brian comes on, he'll have his LinkedIn stepped up a little bit. Maybe not. I don't know. He's concentrating on Do As We Do at the moment. So
that's good though. It's important.
Kristin, like who is your, like, if you could give a synopsis of like who's following you, who's your audience?
Who's my audience? God, that's funny. It's funny. I was always curious about that. It seems like it's kind of eclectic, and I think that's part of the bartender in me. That's why when I was originally trying to start my brand or try to figure out how to go into this, I was so frozen, because every thing that I looked at said your niche. They always wanted to put you into a box, and I hate boxes. I hate categories. So I was really struggling, because everybody that was trying to sit down with me and help me organize, or every worksheet I was doing to try to figure out how to do my content, it didn't work for me, because I just like to be all over the place. And that's kind of like what I get. Sometimes I'll have a teenager that says, wow, thank you so much. Like, you're a really positive adult in my life. And then somebody else, like, you know, guys will reach out to me, and like what I say when I talk about marriage, women will reach out to me because they like that I'm positive. So it's kind of like a lot of people, it's really eclectic what my fan base has been, you know? And I think I agree. Goes from like with my comedy and everything else. I like to be able to I have to wear a hat when I go to work, and whoever sits in front of me, I have to be able to find a way to connect to you. Yeah. So if you're a teenager, I got to be able to talk. Like if you're a 20-year-old, I'm going to be talking about how's college. If you're a mom and a dad, I might be talking about, how are the kids? You know what I mean? So I feel like that's what kind of comes through to people, and I think that's what people kind of like, that it's just real. Yeah. And that's what people seem to respond to. That makes sense. You
just made me think of the way that you described that. There's I think it's a Facebook or something, like a blog, The People of New York. Have you ever seen that one? No. It just kind of it's people that are in New York City. I'm sure that's not happening right now because of coronavirus. But the way that I believe it happens is they just kind of walk up to a person that's there and just kind of start talking to them about their story. And for me, it was really interesting to see like what all these people have been through in their lives. Like, what are they trying to do? What's their story? Mm-hmm. And I think, you know, and that's a really well followed Facebook page. But I know that you're doing that for all these people, like in Boston, or just you know, whoever's following you. Right. You're having the opportunity to just help these people tell their stories live on your page. I think that's the coolest thing. I do too. And she, from doing this, has grown. Your following has grown. Like, I think I took a double take yesterday when I went to go look at. I was like, oh my gosh, she went from 100 something followers, and not focusing on how many people are following her, but just putting out valuable content to in the 12,000 number. Was that right?
It's funny. It's because it was like in the 1,000, then it got up to like 14 when I was with Gary. Then it's gone back down to 12. But I'm like, I'm not looking at the numbers because I'm like, you know what?
Doesn't matter.
I have a thing that I want to do. I want to be able to talk with people. I want to be me. I want people to be more comfortable being them.
Yes.
And that's what I'm sticking with. So I'm like, whoever's going to like you is going to like you. And I keep reminding myself that every day. Like when I'm going to make a post in the morning, I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to say what I want to say. And I have
Kristin being Kristin.
stick to that. I have to stick to it because I think it inspires more people to be more comfortable with their own voice.
Absolutely.
And I think that that's something that people need to learn. So I'm just going to try to keep sticking with it.
Okay, well, here's a question I have. What's that?
Someone just said, we like Brian Crawford. He is an awesome boss. That was from Red.
I like Brian too.
That was from Red. Yes.
He's awesome.
I have to give I had to put that up there. And Laura says hello to the kind of kids as well. Go ahead.
What was I going to say? Oh, yeah.
Shiny Penny.
Brene Brown is a book author and a speaker, and she talks about showing empathy and fear and shame and all of that. And I'm interested in when you're getting people's stories like that, like how you're able to pull out like some tough questions and get people really vulnerable and being able to get a little bit deeper than surface level. Because I think that's how you make it interesting, is when you get below like the what'd you say? Like, well, how's school, or how was college, or what's going on there? When you get a few levels, start peeling the onion back. Like, I wonder how you are doing that with your guests on your show.
I think what happens with me is I'm such an open book. Like, I share so easily that other people feel more trust and they open up freer with me. Like the other night I had one of my guests on and he opened up about like a childhood trauma. I had no idea that was his story, and it just hit me, and I was like, whoa. And like, it was kind of hard to take it in, but that's what happens when I'm bartending. Like, I could be opening the door and someone could come in front of me and they could have just lost their brother and want to have a shot for his brother. And like, we can get a whole thing about his brother, first holidays with his brother. That happened to me for Thanksgiving this year. It's just something that happens with me. I don't know. People will they just tell me everything. It's just
I think it's I think bartending and hair stylists are definitely get told and have conversations. And I'm just speaking from the experience of being a bartender and also like the things that I do share with my hairstylist. We like to call him hashtag a hair god. Shout out to Artem at Salon D, who's also a sponsor of Do As We Do, but he's a good friend too. Like you're able, that you're in the safe zone when you're talking, especially for you, Kristin.
Yeah.
People, your regulars that come back to you, that's a safe zone. Like you listen to them, for me, I would listen and then release it and forget about it because I know it was a private, heartfelt conversation that they would probably not want to share. And if they do, they're going to share it themselves. I don't need to share it for them. Right. So it is definitely something that over as many years as you've been bartending, it's a skill. It's an art form. Like, I definitely miss those conversations. I don't miss the late nights at all, but I miss that money that we all know bartenders, make amazing money when they're good at what they do. So do waiters. Right. So, it's definitely a practice to perfect, and you're you're on your way because you're doing your Instagram stuff. So I'm gonna wrap us up so we keep you on schedule as well. I do want to thank everyone, but before we go into our outgoing, sorry, Brian, I'm gonna talk
to Kristin for like hours.
I know.
Well, Brian, we'll have to have another conversation.
Okay,
you need to have Kristin. Okay, you need to have him on your live on IG.
I will. I'll definitely
for sure.
We'll have a chat for sure.
Yeah. So Kristin, tell everyone how they can connect you with you and what you're doing, and to do it in our wrap up.
Kristin being Kristin, KRISTIN BEING, KRISTIN on Instagram. It's also my YouTube handle. I'm in the process of redoing my YouTube page and putting more content on there. I have so many interviews that I have to start chopping up and adding on there. I'm in the process of trying to come up with a new way of doing the interviews, kind of more of a podcast format that'll go on to like audio and on like Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. So I have a lot of things going up in the next 3 months. I just want to address this week back to work.
Yeah.
give myself a couple weeks to adjust back to my regular life and still keep building what I've already been working on over the past 3 months.
That's awesome. And you, Brian, how can people connect with you and what are you up to?
This is my Instagram handle. So,
Read off.
but if you take this and add, like, move that A and then move it to the other side and go at gmail.com, you can connect direct with me at Gmail. So I don't post that much stuff on Instagram. And
You're on
usually just,
LinkedIn though too, aren't
family
you?
stuff. Yeah, you can find me on LinkedIn.
Yeah, he's on the LinkedIn and on the Facebook as my boyfriend and I like to say.
Or I'll find you.
Yeah. No, I do appreciate you guys so much. I knew when this live was coming up, I was excited because I've been, in my caregiving mode for 2 weeks being in El Paso. So I just appreciate both of you all jumping on, and we will be here next Friday as well so that we can do this again. I know, Kristin, you won't be able to make it next Friday, but Brian, if you can, I might have someone to tee you up with again.
I'll be around.
Brian starts to talk. I love it when he gets on lives because he definitely is that wise one that can pull out information and ask questions. He's a good interviewer for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So I appreciate everyone for joining us today. And don't forget that we will be here again live, Kind Kids, next week, staying in our lane, talking about what we know. And until then, remember, sharing is caring and do as we do. Bye, guys. Thank you all so much. I appreciate you.
Have a good night.
You guys.